What if you can analyze a short-term rental market like a pro so you don't spend a ton of time and money? The purpose of this video is to do exactly that. Give you the tools and information so that you can go ahead and get the best results for the market that you're in. Hello, my name is Ivan Tejeda. If you're new to this channel, I'm an Airbnb pro host and I have made over $1.5 million on Airbnb alone. One of the ways that I've been able to achieve that is by having the right market research and doing the proper market analysis. And in this video, I'm going to spill the tea on all the information that you need to do exactly that. To do so, we're going to uncover 5 different points and topics that are necessary in order to have the foundation to understand what a proper analysis of a market should be like. We're going to start off with what is a short-term rental to begin with. Then we're going to talk about the benefits of short-term rentals, how to analyze a short-term rental market, what factors to consider when analyzing a short-term rental market, and lastly, short-term rental trends in different markets. And right off the bat, if you like those 5 points and those topics, I encourage you to like this video because if you're anything like me, you'll forget to do that. I'm not going to ask you for a subscription just yet. I want to earn that. But by the end of this video, if you get the value that you expected by watching a couple minute video, then I would invite you to do so. So let's get right into it. What is a short-term rental? By definition, a short-term rental is a rental that lasts less than 30 days. This type of rental is growing in popularity as it offers new opportunities for guests to experience different cities and towns and be able to submerge themselves into their culture and overall vibe of the place that they're looking to stay at. Additionally, short-term rentals are often more affordable than your average hotel would be. Not to mention it gives them an experience of a home versus an actual hotel, which many people are looking for these days. And that leads us to our next point, which is what are the benefits of short-term rentals? Well, for starters, flexibility is one of them. Guests can decide to stay a few days, weeks, or months at a time without any real compromise. The second point is cost effectiveness. As I mentioned previously, they are often more affordable than your regular hotels, while at the same time provide more amenities than a hotel actually would. For instance, providing a kitchen, actual closet space, perhaps a patio and other things that are not included in a hotel. Then we have the aspect of convenience. If you wanted to stay at a location and you had family or friends that you're traveling with, it'll become pretty difficult for you to be able to stay with one another unless you find an Airbnb or a short-term rental. Short-term rentals provide the convenience of being able to be all together in one location versus scattered in different rooms in a hotel. That is one of the many conveniences of renting out a rental property versus a hotel. And then there's the aspect of variety. Short-term rentals nowadays come in all shapes and sizes. You can get a short-term rental as an apartment, a villa, a house, cabin, a tiny home. There's so many different options out there that can satisfy a guest's need. And in my opinion, that's quite honestly the reason why I believe Airbnbs and short-term rentals are going to continue to take market share of the hotel business, because that is not something necessarily that hotels can offer just yet, at least. All right, so now that we laid the foundation for what is a short-term rental and what are the benefits of short-term rentals, let's dive into how to analyze a short-term rental market. And to analyze a short-term rental market, you need to understand the following. What are the type of properties that are being offered as short-term rentals in the area that you're looking to do business in? Are you looking to do business in a location that caters more to working travelers, travel nurses, or are you more in a touristy area that you need to look for maybe villas or cabins? That's important to note because the reason for a market analysis is that so we know that we could be profitable in a certain location. And how do we become profitable? By making sure that the type of property that we have is what future guests are looking for. Something else to note is what kind of amenities are these properties offering? For instance, if you're up in a cabin, it would probably be relevant for you to have a hot tub because many other cabins offer a hot tub. Whereas if you're in a more suburban area, it wouldn't make much sense for you to have a hot tub, even though it could still be a good amenity to have, but not as important as if you had a cabin because guests are already expecting something like that. Now, the next point is the property location. Of course, the location can be an influencer as to what amenities you offer. Like we mentioned, one of the amenities is the hot tub. The reason why we have a hot tub is because you're located in a cabin area where people go skiing and is a nice amenity for you to have. So based on your location, you can reverse engineer the type of individual that is going to be staying in these properties and be able to have the right amenities to fulfill their needs. The next point is what is the average cost of these properties? While you're doing the market analysis, it's important for you to understand how much you're going to spend for a property and get the highest ROI or return on investment on your property and be able to get your startup cost as soon as possible. You also want to know what is the occupancy rate for that particular location. One of the simplest ways to find out what the occupancy rate in that location is to go into accounts or properties that are already listed on short-term rental platforms such as Airbnb and go into their calendars as if you're going to make a booking. You'll be able to see what dates are available and what dates are not available, and you can get a pretty good idea of the occupancy rate once you look at a couple of those. Now keep in mind, some of these could be blocked by the host because some hosts take advantage of their own properties to stay at vacation locations and different places that they travel often. But for the most part, you should be able to see if there's a trend of occupancy once you have analyzed 4, 5, or 6 different properties. Now let's talk about the different factors to consider when analyzing a short-term rental market. Now, by understanding the data just mentioned, you'll be able to have a better understanding of the following. You'll be able to see what is the competitiveness of that particular market. In other words, you'll be able to see how many hosts are active, how many properties are available in that location, their occupancy rate. You multiply that by their average nightly rate, you can get a good understanding of how much they actually make. You'll also be able to see what properties are in demand, whether that be single family homes, apartments, studios. You might be able to determine that single family homes are not nearly as much occupied as a regular apartment is. This is very informative and valuable information that you can gather so that you can make an informed decision on what type of property you should get. Because ideally you want to fit the market, you don't want the market to fit you. That's how you lose money. You'll also be able to see what amenities are being offered by all of these different properties that are in that particular market. Going back to our cabin example, if every cabin that you look at has a hot tub in it, it would probably be a good idea for you to have one as well, because the host understands their market and they know that a hot tub is something that their average guest is going to want. Another factor to consider is whether or not there is room for growth in that particular market that you're in. Because unless you're looking just to have one-off properties that is going to generate you a decent income in short-term rentals, it is good for you to look in the future and see if there's the room for you to be able to get more properties and start building a short-term rental empire. Now let's talk about short-term rental trends in different markets. Now, as we all know, short-term rentals are often being used by guests as a means to do vacations. And that one's worth noting because it is actually continuing to grow, and it has been a trend and it will continue to be a trend. And then there's also a growing trend of individuals and guests using short-term rentals in order to live in a new city or town for an extended period of time in order for them to have an immersive experience there. Then you have the instance of amenities and features that are being offered with short-term rentals are becoming more and more varied. And by that I mean, before it used to be a standard just to offer coffee, but now it's becoming more prevalent for hosts to offer decaf coffee, creamer, tea, a tea kettle, so many different other things that are being offered now as a standard as the market becomes more competitive in order for hosts to stand out from the bunch, which is a great thing for guests because they get the best experience possible, and it forces us hosts to make sure that we provide the best experience possible. Another trend that I'm seeing is that the average cost of a short-term rental is becoming more expensive, the nightly rates I mean. And the reason for that is because as the demand continues to grow, as people continue to choose Airbnb versus a hotel, and as people decide to travel instead of have a fixed home and work remotely, and as Airbnb continues to invest heavily into getting more market share of the short-term rental space, the demand starts to drive up the prices, which is an excellent thing for us hosts. But we'll dive into more of that in a different video. So those are some key points that you need to take into consideration when analyzing a short-term rental market. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to leave it down below. I'll be there all day, every day. And if you enjoyed this video, now I encourage you to subscribe as I drop videos just like this one every single week. I'm also publishing at least 3 shorts every single day. Now to this corner, you're gonna find another video that YouTube deems that you should definitely watch. And believe me when I tell you, they know you more than you know you, so you probably wanna watch it. As always, I'll see you at the top. Let's go.